Manchester's indie rock and roll station, XS Manchester. The XS Manchester Long Player, an iconic album in full with Jim Salverson. XS Manchester.
Hello, how you doing? This is the XS Manchester Long Player. I'm Jim, and today I'm taking another classic album and talking to the people who made that album, a modern day classic, on today's podcast. Only going back 3 years to 2020 and the release of Lottery Winners' debut album, their self-titled debut album. An album that was released just 1 week before the world imploded and the first COVID lockdown happened. We'll talk to the band about the impact that had, as well as the inspiration behind this album and the long decade as a band that led up to its release back in 2020. Really cool chat this with an awesome band that get a lot of love inside and outside Manchester. This is the XS Long Player for Lottery Winners by Lottery Winners. I'm joined by all of them in force, Lottery Winners. How are you doing, guys?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, it's lovely to see you.
It's nice to see you. You look so nice.
Oh, thanks.
You
You
really
too.
do. Such a handsome man.
You've got your sunglasses on today, Tom, as well. It's like proper rock star now.
I know, I'm feeling like dress for the job you want. I don't want to be a rock star, so I've just started wearing leather jackets. And
They look a lot better on the radio. I'll be honest.
I bought these sunglasses because I seen Liam Gallagher, a picture of Liam Gallagher in them, and I was like, I'll look exactly like Liam Gallagher if I bought them.
I did the same with a hat
Don't.
that Liam Gallagher had. He had one of those, you know, those Russian furry hats.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
a thing on the Thames. I'm
Yeah.
like, Liam Gallagher looks cool in that hat. I do not look cool in that hat.
I think we all need to accept that we're not Liam Gallagher.
Yeah, you came into the studio, didn't you, last week? And you were like, "Do you like these?" And me and Joel just didn't say anything.
Everyone just laughed at me. It was so hurtful.
Well, we're not talking about fashion today. We're talking about your debut album, which came out back in 2020 now, self-titled debut. But I think the important thing to talk about when we talk about your debut album is the time that led up to the release of the debut as well, because it wasn't a couple of years here and there. It was a decade or so, which I think is important for the context. We could spend hours talking about what happened in those 10 years, but we're not going to. I want you to sum it up for me in, if you can, about 60 seconds. Kind of potted history of Lottery Winners.
I'll sum it up.
Up to 2019, let's say.
Yeah.
You'd think with 10 years writing, the album would have been a lot better. No, we just found our feet, you know. We were playing in pubs to start off with, but we always wanted to play our own songs. Like, a lot of our mates were in covers bands and that weren't really interested. So we just wrote songs and just built it up over a number of years until we felt like the time we were ready to finally, after all that time, put out our debut album. And then I can't remember what happened in March 2020, but it was pretty catastrophic for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of say that with the period of time, obviously releasing your debut album, and it's happened now and it's now in the past, and you can look back at those 10 years and go, oh, it was about getting ready. I'm sure it didn't feel like that at the time, did it? It didn't feel like we're not quite ready yet. We'll just hold back from that debut or hold back from that record deal.
It kind of did, but we were always eager to go. But I think we always knew that we didn't quite have the thing yet.
Yeah,
And
it felt like it at the time. As soon as we realised that we were ready with it, then it was like, right, now's the time. Let's go on.
We had like a major record deal that fell through, and there was a lot of anxiety and a lot of like poor mental health around that time. Like, that was difficult to deal with as a band that had worked so hard and then got the major record deal, and then it kind of fell through after I told literally everybody that I met. Like, everybody, it was like a running joke for you. Like, when it was like,
We
how
once
long?
went to a swimming bath and I dipped my head underwater, and by the time I jumped into the pool, come back up for air, Tom was talking to some like lifeguard who was like, "We've been signed."
It was like Tom Bingo.
So that was difficult. It was a difficult time, but then like when we actually came around to putting the album out, then that feels to me like the start of the band actually. Even it was all just like foreplay.
Right.
And then now we're getting to business as soon as that album came out. Can you say foreplay?
Yeah. You have. So 2019, the album was released under Modern Sky. You kind of hinted at it there. There was a deal before that, and I think some of the album was recorded with the previous record label as well. That fell through. As you say, there were kind of mental health challenges, as there would be around that stuff. You guys always seem really close and together as a band. Was there any moments where that kind of falling through and the stress that would have put on you felt like it could have been the end of it all?
No, not even for a second. We're a family, us, and like we go through the good times and the bad times together. Like genuinely, we're always there for each other, and like even if we ever have a little spat, it's always over straight away, innit?
I think because we all know the high stress that we have to deal with, but we all know we've got the four of us. It kind of evens it out, doesn't it, and takes that stress away that we're all there and dealing with it and all have the same problems.
It's kind of a rare situation to be in. Like, none of my other friends would get this kind of the relationship that we have and the things that we've been through. It's totally unique. So there's like, even my family, I don't think I'm as close to, I'm sorry if you're listening, Auntie Tracy. I don't think I'm as close to my family as I am with these people, right? Like, this is my family, you know. I like my mum and that, she's all right, but...
They don't snore in a van 24/7, so do they?
That's it, we spend so much time together that it's kind of like, you have to be completely your authentic self because there's no time to be anything else, is that there's like...
A lot of time.
Yeah, there's a lot of time.
A lot of time together.
Did that make it feel more special when the second deal came along and obviously the album then got made and then got released? Did that kind of make it feel, A, important because you were this family and you were so in it together, and B, because you'd had this struggle, this growth over the previous decade?
It was like a second chance, right? Like a second win to be like, okay, yeah, we can still...
Yeah, we were like, because we'd made the album and sat on it for a long time, and that was very difficult. Because it felt like we were stagnant for a long time. You don't want to be that, especially as a creative who loves getting clapped at. Like, God, I just want to be clapped at all the time. So any time that I'm not being clapped at is tense for me. So
it was like a limbo, wasn't it?
Yeah, and so, there was a real relief when we finally put the album out, and it was received so well, and, you know, it charted, and we didn't expect it to. And, you know, like, people really connected with it, and it felt... It restored my belief in everything that we'd worked on, because for a while I was kind of like, oh, is this good?
Made it all worth it, didn't it?
Yeah.
And that was like the proof that what we are doing, it is actually worth it.
But we knew enough that we didn't want to let it go stagnant, and we was like, no matter what, regardless of whether they got another deal again, we'd just keep working at it and keep making sure that we got it out to the standard that we knew we wanted it to.
I tell you what was a nice moment. We were on the day we released the album, actually, we were coming in here to like be on the breakfast show, and we got out of the car just round the corner here, and as we walked up, some guy stopped us with headphones in and was like, no way, lottery winners, I'm literally listening to your new album right now.
How cool's that?
And we were
It
just
was
like,
your dad. Like, still.
Is that a moment that makes it feel really real though, suddenly, that actually, because I imagine it's kind of like a little bit abstract at the time.
Yeah.
When you've got a record here and you've got people here, but you don't really associate them as being together.
It was just
Exactly.
our thing we'd worked on for so long, and then the actual day it was out and we were obviously coming here, that someone then actually had it on the phone. We were like, whoa.
Yeah, it was a bizarre experience. I still think it's kind of weird that people listen to us. Like, I mean, they do. 250,000 people a month on Spotify do, but I still find it quite bizarre that people like say, oh, probably right now someone is listening to us. In fact, I know definitely, because Spotify tells you, doesn't
You
it?
just sit there all day looking where they're listening.
Oh, there's 73 people listening to us right now. Someone in Goa.
So as you say, it came out March 2020. That was the debut coming up. How did it feel when you first saw the pink record sleeve on the shelf with the dogs on it? What was the emotions when you kind of saw it physically in a shop?
Well, Thom absolutely loved sharing this picture everywhere of me, because we went into HMV in Manchester and we were doing like an in-store, and I just burst out crying because it just felt so surreal to see our CDs and vinyl on the shelf in a HMV.
It was like a proper ugly cry as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like a little
snot down my chin.
emotional tear. She'd like broken down on the floor. She had to get removed by security. They had like a display, didn't they? Like, and it was so weird to see it. And I remember the first time holding the test pressing even, and just being like, wow, we made an album. No matter what happens, we've always done this now.
I've always wondered what the name of the dogs was, by the way.
One of them's called Lily.
That's my doggy. The
That's
little
your
ugly
dog.
one's my
the
dog.
worst dog on the album cover.
The little scabby barrel is my dog.
Yeah, a scabby barrel that someone stuck cotton wool on, but not properly, like a child's done it. And then I don't know the name of the other dogs.
One was called Zelda.
Zelda.
That was the photographers, 3 Great Danes. We wanted it to be like a kind of underdog thing where Lily was us.
She nearly got eaten that
Yes,
day. Like, we like, let them loose and she was just absolutely
That'd be a different
petrified.
story, wouldn't it?
The only reason we got that pitch was because we literally threw cheese on the floor and all the dogs were like less interested in eating Lily and then just eating the cheese.
Yeah, we didn't want to like build the photo in Photoshop. We wanted it to be an organic picture like of all the dogs together and see what we got. So we just got like a pink backdrop, some cheese, threw it, and hope for the best.
I want to delve into some of the actual songs on the album in a moment, but it's interesting what you said about creativity and not wanting to go stale. And I think what we've seen since the album dropped is proof of that in terms of the amount of output you guys do, whether it be videos or music or whatever it is. You're constantly working, you're constantly doing stuff. How does that chime when you've spent 10 years making a debut album? Because I know there's songs on that album, we'll talk about some of them in a little bit, that you had knocking around for a while. Do you fall out of love with them? And do you want to do the next big shiny thing and you're kind of going, that's done, that's old, we want to go for this thing because it's brand new and exciting?
Yeah. I ate it all, don't I?
It was hard with that album, obviously, because of, we don't mention, but obviously lockdown happened, so we never got to tour that album. So then, for like tours since then, we've wanted to do some of the songs off there, but had to like merge into other album tours. And It's never really had the light of day that it maybe should have got after 10 years of waiting.
Yeah, we kind of put it out and then moved on to the next thing immediately because we couldn't tour and we couldn't do anything else. But yeah, I can hear how young I am on some of the songwriting, and I think I'm very critical of that.
Right.
I do think it's good. Like, obviously, I did
But
it.
every song you've ever written, you're like, this is the best song ever. And then it's like his favourite song for like a day. And then coming the next day, nah, sack that one, that's rubbish. This is the one. And it's like every day you've got to remind him that, yeah, no, that other one is quite good, but you wait. As soon as a new thing comes
don't
out.
tell him that.
Honestly, that is the nicest thing Joe's ever said about
No, but as soon as you're like, oh, rubbish that one, and you move it on. It's like, no, you've got to remember that this song does exist.
I mean, thankfully, like people in the audiences when we do gigs, they remind him how good they actually are when they sing them back and stuff. It's like, oh, actually, yeah, it wasn't bad. That was it. Yeah.
In terms of kind of like how the band works as a dynamic, because you do work hard. It has been a slog until the release, and we've seen the hard work since. Is that all of you together? Is it a joint hunger, or is there one of you, and I'm thinking I probably know who it might be, but is there, that's kicking everyone into shape every morning, dragging you out of bed and kind of getting you into the studio and getting you doing stuff?
Well, I'll take this. No, it's not like that. I mean, I think every band does need like a leader character.
You are the driving force.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad
there
you
you
said
go.
it. But we all get up. We have this studio in Lee, and we all just go there every day and treat it like our 9 to 5, 10 to 11 to 3 job.
With our lunch in the middle of it.
But we literally go in there and we sit there every day, and like I might be doing a demo, Rob will be designing a poster, Kate will be answering emails, Joe will be watching cricket.
It always eats into my cricket time going to that room.
But yeah, we literally, like, we've all quit our jobs and it's just, 9 to 5, 11 till 3 every day.
Yeah, we're all in. Like, this is what we want to do, you know. So we're all like 100% in.
Right, I want to dig into some of the songs on the album now, and I think the appropriate place to start is the first single that came from the album, which was Hawaii.
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
As it was the kind of rebirth almost of the band, what made that tune different to what came before?
Do you want me to be completely honest and candid about it?
Yeah.
I just thought, I'm going to write a song I don't care about that I think will get played on radio.
Really?
And you played it, so nice
We
one.
did. Was it kind of literally that this is a formula that we think we can crack and get?
That was the
airplay?
first time I'd ever tried writing in that way.
Wow.
That it was a bit more like methodical. I mean, I do believe in the song, and like I always have to put a bit of me into it. Like I was feeling those things when I wrote it, but it was more like, let's try and write a radio song, because we felt like we didn't really have any. And yeah, maybe that isn't as romantic as you might want, but that is what happened. And so far that, we all quite despise that song, don't we?
But a lot of people do like it.
People like it
people
because
coming
they're
over
idiots.
Oh.
No, not really. If you like it, I appreciate it.
I guess it worked because it wouldn't have just been you thinking that. That must have gone through the label filter as well. Well, they must have seen the tracks and gone, well, this is the one that we service the radio first because this is the radio song.
Yeah, well, it kind of confirmed it because the label did pick that out as being the radio song. So, yeah, I think it was what it was, and I do like it, obviously. I wouldn't have let anything go on the album that I didn't like apart from one or two.
For me, that song I'll never forget that Thom decided at our Manchester gig around that, like before the album came out, decided we were going to have palm trees on stage for the Hawaii single.
Oh, yeah.
And then for about, was it a year after, we were still finding mud in the back of the van and everything was just covered
Do you
in
know how
mud.
much it costs to hire like 4, and I say palm trees, they were house plants at
Shrubs.
best.
Yeah, they were house
Yeah.
plants. They weren't. There's nothing palm tree.
Yeah,
about
where,
them, really.
where you think you're getting palm trees from in Manchester?
God, I'm interested. How much was it?
It was like a couple of £100,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Ridiculous.
For
yeah,
one gig.
Yeah, well, like we based the whole tour around around that single, really, Hawaii. And like we came onto Hawaii 5-0, that theme tune, for example. And then two gigs in, someone was like, I hate that Hawaii.
Let's tear it up.
I feel like I've been a bit cruel to one of my children there because Hawaii is one of my children. I do like it.
I remember when you wrote it, you said it's the best song you've ever written.
I mean, I've heard you say before, Thom, that a lot of the stuff you write is autobiographical.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that song maybe isn't so autobiographical, but where does that apply to this album? Because I think when I listen to this album, and what I know about you is you seem like very candid, outwardly positive, but like all of us, you kind of have dips as well, and you need that kind of self-talk. And I think that comes across in the album, particularly something like Little Things, I'd say.
Yeah, Little Things is one of my favourites. That was about a real tough time and losing someone. And My Only Friend as well, I think there's a lot of emotion in that song. That's quite an emotional one for me. And the last song on the album, Young Again. Yeah, I think the whole album, I really believe, is me. I can't write like disingenuously, is that a word? Mm-hmm. Unauthentically. I just, because I wouldn't listen to that. I can't listen to a song that I don't believe. So I'd never write one that I didn't believe in. So like, I have to put me into it. And I think I do that. And yeah, I am candid and I am like honest all the time. Because people, if you're expressing how you feel, that it's likely that other people will have felt that way and people connect to the song more. And it's so humbling and so nice when people come up to you and say that your song helped them through a tough time or they can relate to it and they're like, oh my God, it's like it's about me.
That's the biggest compliment.
Yeah, I really think that's like a big compliment. So,
well, music does have that power. It transports people to time and places and emotions. But I guess if you're writing songs that are that connected to you from an autobiographical point of view, when you do listen back, and I'm sure you don't sit there and put on old albums all the time, but does it instantly take you back to kind of the genesis of those ideas?
Yeah, it does, but like my therapy for those things is writing the song. So if I've had a particularly difficult experience, when I put it down on paper or record it, then it kind of like gets that out of me.
Right.
So that it really helps me to overcome things. So like, although it might take me back to it, I don't experience the same kind of hurt and pain as I would have if I hadn't. God, it's gone dead serious, hasn't it? Is it all right? You're just like nodding at me approvingly like, it's okay, you can be serious
You're
sometimes.
allowed to be, yeah. There's no reason why you can't be.
Yeah, now we're spending the time going, no, stop it.
Well, as a band in that case, if the songs are so personal to Thom and they're from his life, do you still feel able to claim ownership of them as pieces of art or pieces of work?
Yeah, I think so. Because I feel like we definitely put a lot of work in to the songs musically as well. Because when you take them to a room and we all sort of, and again because of how long it's taken to get to that point. But when it comes to the lyrics, and we know like, I know Tom's he won't like me saying this, but he's a genius when it comes to a lot of stuff.
Oh mate,
you're all right. But it's like, you know, it's. I sometimes when they come into the room with the lyrics, I get that same feeling that somebody listening to it would get, where it's like, oh yeah, I get that as well. So there's still an emotional attachment to it, and as a friend as well, in the same sort of way, I'm emotionally attached to how he's feeling when he's writing them down. You know what I mean? So.
I only ever listen to my drum part.
You don't even know any
I
of the
could tell you
words.
one lyric on that album, but I could tell you some of the sick fills in there.
I love that it can be you've written it and that means something to you, but how people will pick up it means something, like you said. Yeah. So it might mean something to us as well.
Our lives are kind of intertwined anyway, so it's kind of like if I've gone through some kind of thing, then you've all kind of gone through it.
I've remembered when you've gone through it. Oh yeah, this is about that.
It's quite a vulnerable position, you know, to like, I don't really admit this to you lot, but if I've written something and I've got to like bring it to you, I do feel nervous about that. Like, even though we're so close and even though I can be myself completely with you, it's still a vulnerable position to bring this thing to you. And sometimes you're like, that's rubbish.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you both, or all of you, to pick a couple of tunes off the album in a moment. So you might want to confer on this, but I think we'll do two. There can be like favourite tunes, there can be moments, there can be memories, whatever it is, good or bad or whatever. But I just want to talk about a couple of other songs. One is That's Not Entertainment, which every time I listen to it, it reminds me of like 90s trip hoppy tunes. Do you remember OMD? They did How Bizarre. Really
How Bizarre.
Yeah,
we love that
exactly.
song, yeah.
It really reminds me of that. And I don't think musically that's ever anything I've heard people kind of going back to. It's kind of like there's a lot of 80s synths around at the moment. People do the 90s Manchester thing a lot, but that's not a musical mine that people have kind of gone into very often. Is that important to you as a band to try and find stuff that sounds different and that hasn't been done before?
I feel like other than Hawaii, I've literally never tried to think, let's make this song sound like something. It's always just been like authentically what it became. Because if you start trying to inject it with like little bits of this and a little bit of that because you think people will like it, and then it just never works.
Right.
You've just got to let it be what it is, and that is just the way that That's Not Entertainment came out. And we happen to kind of love, and I think it's got a bit of Blur in there, and we were listening to a lot of that at the time. And Tristan, our producer and manager, he wasn't then but is now our manager, he's into all that like 90s kind of trip-hoppy stuff, and he loves Blur, and so he was injecting a bit of that into it. But it was never like we sat round a table and was like, let's write something like How Bizarre. It was just like what it came out like.
It was a similar sort of realisation for us as we were doing it. We're like,
right,
hey, this is a bit sort of, similar sort of vibe.
Yeah.
I think actually you were saying that like Hawaii felt like it was like the re-emergence of us or whatever. It was actually That's Not Entertainment for us.
Right.
Because when the record deal fell through, we were just like, right, well, we wrote That's Not Entertainment and another song as well. What song did we write at the same time with it?
I guess there's that kind of angry edge to it, actually, when you think about it. There's the kind of like, look, this is all rubbish.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's how we were feeling.
Yeah.
So we did That's Not Entertainment as a single without any label when we were just on our own, and we put a little tour around it because we'd done nothing for so long.
We were so stagnant.
We went for a meeting in Manchester with someone, didn't we? And they were just like, well, you can just put out a single and do a gig, you know, you don't have to wait. And we were like, oh yeah. So then we just did it, and it was like the start of us again, wasn't it? Like, so although I actually, I would credit That's Not Entertainment as our rebirth.
Yeah, agreed.
Last tune I want to talk about is Elizabeth on the album, which I'm guessing is probably one of the oldest tunes on there. I'm sure I've seen a video of you guys in a pub maybe 10 years ago performing it.
Yeah, probably.
That song is kind of like the birth of Joe being in
It wasn't the birth of Joe.
Don't tell me mum that.
That's what it was called originally before he became Joe.
Push.
That was sorry, I'll rephrase. That was the first song we ever wrote with Joe being in the band. So it was.
So it's the oldest song that the four of us have got.
Yeah.
Come together, yeah.
Do you remember rewriting that, Joe? Do you remember?
He'll tell you what football match was on, I'm sure.
I sort of do remember it because we was all just sat in a van driving down to London. And I think we wrote it there. None of us had any instruments or anything, and was like, I'll do this, you do that, you do that. And then we went to the rehearsal room, did everything that we said we'd do, and that was that.
It was just done.
It was genuinely like, and I was like, this is well easy. I was like, we'll have an album written in like an afternoon. And then the next song took ages. I was like, it's taking ages. This is doing my head in. Like, I quit.
And 10 years later.
10 years later, yeah.
Right, your turn to pick a couple of songs off the album, and like I say, connections to memories or moments, or they can just be songs you love or moments you love in them. I guess there's four of you. Want to pick two, so it's going to be whoever shouts first gets their picks on.
I'd like to pick Young Again.
Oh. Well, I think we'd all agree. Probably.
Yeah, that's fair.
I really love that song, and I remember recording it and like literally crying. And I do cry a lot, don't I?
Yeah, you do.
I'm a bit soft,
You're
but I
big
remember
soft lad.
crying at that song. And Yeah, so I'm going to pick that one.
I also remember we'd run out of budget for that one, and we was in
Yeah.
your flat.
we
in
recorded
Tilsley.
it in my flat, yeah.
We had a violin player come to your flat, didn't we?
Yeah, she was just like we'd been at some massive studios. Like we spent a lot of I won't say the label that dropped us, Barner Wuthers. We spent a lot of their money going into big studios like Rockfield and even Abbey Road, and then we really ran out of money, so we did it in my bedroom. But it's my favourite sounding one.
When you listen back, can you hear the difference between what you were doing in the big studios and what you were doing in the
Yeah.
bedroom? And does it matter?
No, I prefer it.
Can
It
hear
feels so much more real and organic, doesn't it?
the confusion of the violin player. I was like, why am I in a bedroom recording?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd hyped up like, yeah, this album's going to be amazing. Oh, where am I recording? Right, go up the stairs.
It's that flat above that carpet shop.
That was it, a carpet shop. That was it, yeah.
All right, go on, do another one. What would you else?
Go on,
what else
you
do
can all
remember from
pick
the
one
making of this?
between us.
Well, I know what Kate will pick My Only Friend.
Yeah.
Because that's my favourite as well.
Yeah.
I think it's an absolute banger, to be honest.
Oh.
Right.
It's quite heavy. I was quite into it at the time.
You
I
still
really
like playing it live?
I like playing it live, yeah. And then we don't seem to do it anymore. We should. But yeah, that's probably my favourite.
Maybe we
I
should
think.
put it in this next tour, right?
Yeah.
But you'll just cry. I think that's why we dropped it, is because you got to like third night of tour and you broke down again. I said, we can't be doing this every night. You just crying on stage.
What was I saying before about writing the song takes away the emotion? It
Yeah.
doesn't, does it? I still cry when I play them sometimes.
Do you find a difference between doing songs, particularly like that are kind of bigger and a bit more energy? Do you find it easy to capture that in a studio setting when you're all doing your stuff separately and you're laying it down, or do you have to, in those scenarios, do you try and do it as a group still and kind of record that live feeling?
It's always difficult, in it. Like that's always a thing. Like, oh, how do you capture the live sound on the record? And I don't think there's a way. I think each song. You kind of. I do remember with My Only Friend setting up as a band and
we
playing.
all
that.
played along to that together.
Yeah, but then I'm not sure any of that actually made it. Like, you
No,
probably,
it was for the purpose of the energy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And getting the right drum take.
We've got an amazing producer, Tristan, co-producer actually. Who else produces with him?
You make up that you do, but you don't.
I definitely do. Me and him produce.
Press the button once.
Yeah. They've just got like a little fake button for Tom going, yeah, go on. Well done.
Yeah, like when you
Genius.
let a kid drive.
Go on, you do talk back.
We both produce it, but yeah, he's a genius.
Once the album came out, I'm going to use the word that cannot be mentioned, but no, I don't know exactly what the timeline was, but I know between the album coming out and everything just shutting down and the world exploding and the pandemic hitting, there wasn't very long between that.
It was the same week.
Well,
The same week.
we released our album on Friday the 13th and we were like, right, go on, what bad's going to happen? And we were like, oh, maybe something bad might happen, but I did not expect it to be that
The
bad.
world.
Did it feel? I mean, did it feel like a real punch in the gut? It must have. It must have kind of felt like, well, this just isn't going to happen.
For about 30 seconds, yeah.
Right.
It was hard, wasn't it? But then we were like, well, what are we going to do? Everybody thought it was only 3 weeks at first, remember?
Yeah.
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 And then, so we were just like, what we're going to do? We'll just work for a bit. So then, but then it kind of got longer and longer and longer and longer. And we were just like, well, we're not going to stop. We just need to rethink everything now. And we just need to adapt. And we all bought these weird little cameras, didn't we? And then we were just on Zooms to each other constantly, like an episode of Big Brother.
House party we used to
House
do.
party.
Do you remember that?
But we were just constantly on the phone to each other the whole time. Like, it was like we lived together. And we just wrote songs and made videos and did covers and did a Facebook
ourselves
TV
sane,
show
yeah.
just to keep ourselves sane. Yeah, we just every single day I wanted to make.
And I managed to juggle that with my new football manager career. When lockdown started, he was like, right, we've got to do this. And I was like, I've just bought Football Manager. I'm going to absolutely tan this for a year.
What was your proudest football manager achievement?
I got a statue made outside the City ground.
Amazing.
I overtook Brian Clough. And I just thought, this is my moment. And then when you realise that nobody actually cares, I go, Kate, this has happened. She's like, get a life. You know what I mean? So,
It was like, come on, Joe, we've got to start recording this song today. Yeah. Just got a press conference and I'll be here.
can you do acoustic?
dressing up in a suit in your bedroom for the cup finals. Right, finally, and this is the level of detail I go into when I'm researching this stuff. I was looking at the record sleeve for this album and I noticed there was a thank you to the Half Moon pub in Tilsley.
Yeah.
What's the significance there?
We filmed. Well, we used to run an open mic night there actually on a Thursday night, and they were just really nice, really helpful people, and that helped us as well.
We filmed That's Not Entertainment
and
there.
we filmed That's Not Entertainment in there, where they basically let us just take over the upstairs of the pub where they lived.
And then when we finished, we took over the downstairs. I was behind bar pouring pints and stuff like that, yeah.
Well, we used to hang around in there a lot, didn't we?
Yeah.
Not so much anymore. Maybe we should go back
Busy,
to
aren't
the
we?
half.
Yeah. I'm bigger and better than that pub now. I'm only joking.
Moved up to the Hop and Hazelwood now, haven't we?
He's bad, that's why.
I am bad. I shouldn't have gone behind the bar that day, I don't think.
I think a 5th anniversary gig, playing the album all the way through, which you'd never done, at the Half Moon in Tilsley. I think it's got to be done.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
I would really enjoy playing the album in full, though, because we've never done it.
We have never done it. Why
Some-
don't we do like an XS event where we play the album in full?
We'll make it happen.
Yeah, we'll just get paid loads of money and we'll do it.
Just press play and we'll mime.
Half of that's possible. Guys, thank you very much for coming in and chatting me through this album. I think it was a breath of fresh air when it came out in 2020. I think it's brilliant, and I think what you've done since as well, credit to you, because you do work your asses off to make stuff happen, and you make it happen, and that's a lesson to all bands out there. So appreciate your time, good luck for whatever is next, and thanks for being on the XS Long Player.
Well, thank you for all your support,
Thanks for
Jim.
having us.
We
No,
really
thank you.
appreciate you, man.
The XS Manchester Long Player, an iconic album in full with Jim Salverson. XS Manchester.
Always a pleasure to talk to that lot. That is the XS Long Player for Lottery Winners' debut album, Lottery Winners, a fascinating chat. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to that album before, or maybe you've just not listened to it in a while, go back, give it a spin, and remember how good it was. And at this point in time, I'm recording this on the 20th of April 2023. We are 1 week away from the release of their new album, Art Replacement Therapy. It comes out on the 28th of April. So if you're a Lottery Winners fan, make sure you've got yourself a copy of that. And if you're not yet a Lottery Winners fan, well, go and check it out, because you will be very soon. That's it for this episode of the XS Long Player. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And do check out the back catalogue, because no doubt I will have at some point covered your favourite album.
The XS Manchester Long Player, an iconic album in full with Jim Salverson. XS Manchester.